Hi, welcome to the channel. Today's video is titled Judge Joe Brown calls out celebrities for mocking Charlie Kirk's death and calling him racist. Okay, we're going to check this video together. This video is already lengthy. So we're going to check this video together and I love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below. Let's dive right in.
How do you feel about the assassination of Charlie Kirk?
It really doesn't make any difference in the big picture who or what the mechanics were that killed him. The fact is that over the last few decades, an atmosphere has been generated in this country that makes it a viable proposition. But what somebody forgot and why it has its differences is that martyrs motivate masses. And it is not just a message, but who the messenger is. And if you take out the wrong messenger, you elevate the status of the message. Now, there's a great deal of debate on how the shot occurred, whether it's real, and the conspiracies that exist. But the real deal is that you've got, as I mentioned earlier or before, you've got some very highly motivated people who are fanatical about their cause, that rainbow cult thing. I'm not talking about the gay community. I'm talking about the rainbow cult that a lot of them don't like. It is highly motivated. It is the equivalent of a new religion. And new religions tend to evangelize. They come up with jihads. They come up with persecutions. They burn their witches at the stake. They are holier than thou, and they take people out, and that looks like the motivational factor for whatever elements are behind him dying. Kirk reminded me of, and with certain very important differences, of a young Jerry Falwell, who appealed to a group of people that was very alarmed about 40 years ago with how their code of conduct, their value system, etc., was getting yanked out from under them. Maybe we should have listened to them. They called themselves the moral majority at the time. And a lot of people said, oh, they're cranks, they're evangelistic fanatics and all of this, but they did have some valid points. And we kind of got beyond that in one sense, and now we have a glorification of dysfunction that is manifest. We have decadence and depravity. Nobody has a principle or a purpose, and everybody seems to hate themselves and want to be something else other than what they are if you listen to mainstream media. And it's not a healthy environment. And they made a martyr out of somebody that had a very large following. A very large following had developed, and that crossed a whole lot of lines. I know some young black guys that are really upset about them taking him out. They expressed to me the sentiment that they were tired of people telling them that they were inferior to somebody that was supreme over them, and that they couldn't make it and they needed help to make it, and somebody had to take care of them, and they didn't like that. So Kirk was giving them a rah-rah on an alternative way of looking at the world. Be proud of yourself. You know, some people get great joy in life about taking care of their business. TCB. Duty, honor, obligation, accountability, responsibility. The deeper the adversity that you overcome, the more you have going for yourself. You are a warrior if you slay a great enemy. If you just stomp on somebody that is not a challenge, you haven't done anything. So he was giving people an opportunity to slay dragons in a righteous fashion and give them a cause and a purpose, which is not what we were getting from the communications, entertainment, and news industries. So Charlie Kirk will be remembered.
How you feel about the people that call him a racist?
I don't buy it. When I take the context of what he said, I mean, think of it. Some people are just flat out idiots. Look at Jasmine Crockett, who seems to have actually gone to school in Memphis at a very elitist private school. Um, Rhodes College, founded by the followers of Cecil B. Rhodes, who implemented apartheid in the 19th century in South Africa. She went to, let's see, what was it, if I'm not mistaken, Thurgood Marshall Law School, which is a medium tier law school. So she likes to play like she's ghetto, but she's not. And she is what Charlie Kirk was standing against. So if Charlie Kirk called her some things that her fans find unsavory, but they happen to be truthful, well, why not? You can say them. Plus, the other thing is frankly, uh, the U.S. government finds nasty things to say about the People's Republic of China, vice versa. The rocket man who runs North Korea doesn't have much nice to say about the United States and vice versa. Everybody calls everybody bad names when they represent an adversary, and everybody spends a lot of money with the CIA, NSA, national security apparatuses. You have British MI6, French intelligence, Saudi counterintelligence, the Mossad, Egyptian intelligence networks, the former KGB now morphed into the Russian intelligence network the Chinese do to find out what somebody's doing on the other side. So they have critical analysis that they do, and there's nothing wrong with doing a critical analysis on anybody, and if it's true, take heed. So I don't find him being candid, and I don't find anybody has any built-in exemption from criticism. And some of what he said I agree with when it comes to some particular individuals.
You say this exactly. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, sir. Because what was it doing? What was Charlie Kirk doing? He was talking to people, most especially those that disagrees with him. Why do you think like this? And again, the racist part, like when I hear people say, "Oh, Charlie Kirk is racist," "Oh, he's a misogynist," "He's this," "He's that," what comes to mind is, tell me you don't watch Charlie Kirk's video without telling me you don't watch Charlie Kirk's video. I mean, it's about time we bring back common sense, but it seems like lots of people be like, no, they want people to be, they want to be dependent on someone's knowledge or idea of something rather than doing their thing. So you see people follow this rhetoric the mainstream media push, rather than you to do your research to say, wait, I just heard this, let me go and do my research and find it, how true is this. And you know what's even crazy is, yeah, exactly what Judge just said here. You see, from the left and the right, they insult themselves or they say things about themselves, and everybody goes fine with it. But why do people think that you are allowed to say some particular things, whether true or not, about a particular group of people? I mean, Charlie Kirk has been called what? Marxist. He's been called what they call him. They call him, he hates the gay people, which some people came out later to say, oh, it was a misunderstanding. They called him the R word, racist. They call him sexist. They call him misogynist. They called him what? That they called him all sorts of names. And guess what? Just because you disagree with somebody, you start naming the person names, and we see this across the board on both sides. But is Charlie Kirk racist? From the videos that I've seen, no, he's not. He's quite very decent, very polite. I mean, there was a particular video where I saw a particular black lady, let me use that, that you don't even know this person from Adam. But the moment she was given the mic, she started behaving like Raz. Did Charlie kick her out? No. He gave her the room to do whatever she wanted to do. He has been polite to lots of people that he potentially disagreed with. Air your views. He never said, "Oh, I'm not gonna give you the mic because you look like this, or because I don't agree with you, or because you quote unquote identify like this." He never said that. And if you watched any of his videos, you would know this. But again, people take things out of context based on few seconds clip and run with it. Makes no sense. No sense. And the fact that people are even rejoicing that he was unalived is insane. What he was even doing more was bringing back critical thinking, because people don't potentially think for themselves anymore. They are reliant on what somebody tells them and run with it. And that is, it's, I mean, what he was doing, was it a bad thing for making you to think thoroughly and question some things that makes no sense? He was actually fighting for the greater good of people. But again, people don't like the truth.
So I know my son and some of his guys, they got kind of aggrieved with what happened to Kirk. So I don't find him a racist. It's all in context. I mean, race in the United States of America and in the world today is inescapable, so it's inevitable that anybody that's trying to do commentary on circumstances is going to bring it up. Like Du Bois said 120 some years ago, the problem of the 20th century will be the color line, and it proved to be the case, and there's still fallout from that. Now, in the United States of America, every law that's necessary to address that problem is now in place. It's just you have to put the team together to do it. We have a push that came from the left to establish hate crimes, but I've always thought that hate crimes were an insidious danger to the republic, because if you do a historical analysis, it's interesting, but every single something that is a hate crime has been turned against the people who were supposed to be the beneficiary in 10, 12, 15, 20 years. And what it does is it restricts free speech. And if free speech offends you, grow stronger. Now, I come from a generation where for recreation in elementary, junior high, and high school, we ran the dozens on each other. Hey, man, I don't want to say nothing about your mama, man, but last night when I was over there, man, when you was asleep, man, you know, and then, oh, man, well, you know, what about your mama, man, blah, blah, blah. Now folk go, they talk about my mama, talk about my mama. Yeah, well, so what? You know, get over it. Get wittier so you can come back with your own repartee. And by the way, enhance your vocabulary so you know what the devil that is. If you take revolutionary movements, whether you're talking about Russia, the United States, way back 250 years ago, you talk about China, you talk about Vietnam, you talk about the Panther Party, the Black Student Alliance, anybody, when you're trying to get a movement, expand your vocabulary, because an expansive vocabulary allows you to communicate rather than and in simplistic forms, and it expands your ability to think about stuff. So grow up, buck up, stand up, step up, and do what you have to do. And that's the way you deal with it. The stronger and the more dangerous the adversity that you overcome, the better you are, and the more that says about you that reflects good character.
Yeah, it's being reported that the murder suspect, he was in a relationship with a trans woman.
Yeah, that seems to be it. And see, if you get it, I've been warning. In fact, last time I talked with you, I kind of warned about that. I said, you know, that side is arming up and they are effectively trying to produce their secular jihad. I think I mentioned the last time I said consider Buddhism. It's an ancient and honorable religion, but it has no deity. You can have one or not and still be a devout Buddhist. It's about a system and a philosophy. And that's what we get with this cult, the rainbow cult, that has now been adopted as the official theology of many states, many cities, and for a while, the United States. You can't put a crucifix, a Jewish star, an Islamic crescent, representation of six-armed Shiva or Buddha or Confucius, anything like that in a government building or a school, but you can splash rainbow all over it. You can't teach the religion or the philosophy or the theology in the school, but you can teach the rainbow cult from kindergarten through 12th grade, 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, with official sanction. So they were trying to turn this country into a place with an official theology of negativism where you can hate yourself instead of rising to your obligations and accountabilities to do what men ought to do. You don't have to be a man. You can be a woman, but you can't be a woman. You can just fake it because you can't do the things that women do, and you, in the process, screw up this thing that is developed all through the animal kingdom where the female is attracted to the male and the male is attracted to the female, and now nobody does boys and girls style watching the opposite sex because you don't know what you're looking at, but these people don't care that they are upsetting the breeding pattern for humanity. It is of little consequence to them because they hate themselves and they want to be something else. So you've got a philosophy that does not say, for example, back in the 60s, I'm black and I'm proud, or black power, or love thyself. What they do is they hate themselves and they want to be something else and take a moment to go take their children and go down like they're a pet and get fixed by the veterinarian. It's kind of crazy, but that's what we have as a counterculture that's set up. It's in minority status. Probably 3 to 4% of the population would be in support of that, but they control the means of communication, or they have friends in the communications, entertainment, and news industry, and their position is constantly pushed. And we know from the Nazis and other people that if you tell a lie even long enough and loud enough, you can get anyone, including the liar, to believe it. People used to think that if you went to the edge of the world, you'd fall off. But now we have GPS and we can find our way, and everybody's got the app on their cell phone, so it's obvious that there's something up there in the sky orbiting around something round. So we know that the Earth's not flat, but you see, when you have a belief system, it doesn't have to be founded on reality, and that's a danger. I don't like him, but I respect his beliefs. Okay, well, why? Because the beliefs may be completely in error and it's not tested by the empirical process of experimentation. It's not carefully developed through theory, mathematics, and careful thought and analysis. It just happens to be something somebody wants to be the reality, but does not have to be any more real than some of the stuff you get on a horror movie at a movie theater, or some of the stuff that you see in the video games. So reality is a thing that people need to get back in touch with.
Thank you, sir.
And
This reality is what people need to get I wish there's a way somebody can just frame that, because we, with everything that we see, people like sort of find it hard to face the truth. Oh, I don't like this, what this person is saying, it hurts my feelings. Well, facts don't really care about your feelings. And the truth is, well, one way or the other, your feelings are gonna be hurt. You hear people say, "Oh, I don't want to say this; it's gonna hurt somebody's feelings." Well, whether you say it or not, or whatever you say, whatever you do, somebody is gonna get offended by. And the fact that we in this generation we're trying to raise the most, I don't know, like people to be judging things based on emotions or feelings, it makes no sense. Do you think it's emotions that brought us to this stage that we are in this world? Absolutely not. And we are doomed. We need to bring back or come back to reality. Thank you so much, sir, for that, because I don't see how this is not true.
Reality is a thing that people need to get back in touch with.
Thank you.
And Charlie Kirk was the wrong person for that side to try and take out, because martyrs motivate masses.
Mm.
And I think they did something that was counterproductive to their cause. And when I say they, I mean the whole movement that it is represented, and whether or not there are individuals who happen to be off on that freak side. And that's what I think. They're mentally ill. I've dealt with a lot of mental illness in my professional over the last half century, so something needs to be done for them. But we don't need to say, okay, you are an unfortunate who was born deformed and missing an arm. The solution is not to cut everybody else's arm off, but to assist you in compensating for your loss. But we don't look at it that way.
Mm.
How you feel about all these people that's happy that Charlie Kirk got killed? All these celebrities.
Well, a lot of these celebrities are not what you think. See, you think of the celebrities, hey man, this is deep, man. We got to go make a move on these dudes. Yeah, man. Jamal, we going to have to make a move. We going to have to take them out. See, that's the way you think of the celebrity, right? Down, gangster. When you see the celebrities, oh my God, I almost creamed on myself. The part was so exciting. It was so rough trade. Oh, Charlie, you should have seen it. So you see, the people that are real are the ones that are talking about the stuff that you don't like. They aren't the ones that you have in your mind's eye about the down brother, the real live action hero who is brave and courageous and proficient in firearms and martial arts, and he dares to do what no one else does. You see, the person that's playing the role is a straight out sissy that you could probably run up out of the club if you looked at him wrong. So when you see them coming out against somebody that, shall we say, was not in favor of their lifestyle and worldview, you can understand it. Plus, a lot of them are subsidized. See, Hollywood is a vicious place. That entertainment industry has an enormous amount of money that somebody can corner if they toe the line. So they're nice, dutiful little slaves. In Rome, they understood that. And it's not that they didn't like their Greco-Roman plays and dramas and comedies and such like and tragedies. And it's not like the Romans didn't go to their theaters and pay rapt attention to the performances, but they looked at actors and actresses as a low caste of people who, instead of dealing with reality, dealt with fantasy and make-believe as their careers. So you're taking people who have spent essentially their entire adult lives in fantasy and make-believe, and you're trying to act like they count. when the real world is involved. They don't. They are just tools. They are called talent. And in the Hollywood industry, it's even kind of a look down on them. The hired help, talent, who can carry this idea into a semblance of reality. They can take sheer fantasy, sheer make-believe, sheer fiction, and they have a talent of converting it into something that people will accept as real. So the celebrity crowd that doesn't like Charlie Kirk or didn't like Charlie Kirk, I understand, because Charlie Kirk, by his very existence and what he said, was an embarrassment to their reality, which is you're just some little punk sissy who is willing to do the 7B thing, unbelt, drop your britches, drop your boxers, bend over, spread your butt cheeks, and get boy banged by some producer, director, or whatever who wants to push that. So no, we aren't impressed. You see what came out with Diddy and all that dark side stuff that he'd been up to that he did not deny. By the way, what you were looking at with Diddy was the pimp game, classic pimp game. And pimps used to suck more dick in the penitentiary than everybody but the pedophiles. But now, hey man, it's about pimping, man. You really want to be a pimp? Do you know what that means? That's about as unmanly and unmasculine as you can get. You are as far away from duty, honor, obligation, protecting those that you love as you can possibly be. So that's what you want? Pimp your ride, man. See, it's become part of the vernacular, so the target of the propaganda that you want to diminish himself is doing it for you because he has embraced and internalized what you've been trying dutifully to put in his head. You've made your creature. The wolf is a wolf, but the dog is no longer the dog. The wolf can feed himself as a pack structure and leadership, the alpha males and females in the wolf pack, and dogs are all betas, and they get their kibbles and bits opened by their masters and mistresses, and they wag their tails and are dutifully servile to their human bosses.
Interesting. You see, and this is exactly what we keep saying, or what we've been saying over and over and time again about the celebrities and their lifestyle, because they don't live in reality. They don't live in the real world, and it's clouded by fantasy. So of course, I mean, majority of them, a lot of them are being controlled, and it's not even that hard for you to understand this or for you to know this. That's why sometimes, like when they even say some things, like take them seriously at your own risk. That's just the truth. Take them seriously at your own risk. Because I mean, obviously they are being controlled. That's for sure. You know it. So whatever their masters or whatever the people higher up will tell them to do or to say, that's potentially what they're gonna say or what they're gonna do, right? And of course, if they see somebody else who's got or who's not controlled, exactly what he said here, who's not controlled like them, how are you living the life like that I want to live? I don't want to be controlled and stuff and all that stuff. But again, celebrities they already live in this self-created world fantasy where people like think or look at them and say, oh, because of the glamour and everything, it's real. It is not. It is not. And when you hear some things or some stories, okay, exactly like Diddy, when you hear some things, you be like, normal people don't live like that, or normal people don't live in this lifestyle. So I mean, it literally makes no sense to celebrate the murder of somebody else just because you don't like him. And it's insane that okay, because celebrities do it, so regular people be like, oh yeah, they too want to join them. Hello, are you thinking straight?
It's kind of a thing. Well, look, let me put this to you. Consider this. There are a lot of black folk, white folk too, Asian folk, Native American folk. They went over to the sand pile over the last 35 years. They got shot at. They shot some people. There were some that went over in the jungles of the Nam. They put it on the line. They got shot at. They faced death. They dealt death. Some that were in Korea, some that were in World War II. You can get even to the domestic scene. There were some people in the Black Panther Party, SDS, Brown Berets, and other organizations. They went out and they faced death. A lot of them got killed in the movement trying to actualize people's rights and liberties and equality. And you had some people that came in and they pimped it. They weren't out there facing danger in the military or in the streets for the right kind of thing. They might have faced death being suicidal because they didn't want to live. And they chose death not by suicide by cop, but suicide by neighbor. Provoke your neighbor into doing you the favor of taking your life, but in the meantime, in the effort to provoke him, you might take his life or her life. So it's not a healthy thing. So you have all of these people who have never faced adversity for real, who have play acted like they do, and are in this entertainment industry, this distraction industry, the propaganda industry to get you to think in a fashion that's not in your best interest. And that's who we look at as leadership, not as people in the real world who actually can shoulder that mantle and take that war club or that baton and say, follow me, you know, this is the way we go. And they haven't done that. They just play act. They are in the propaganda section. It's like Hollywood had all these war movies in World War II, Why We Fight. So you had these Hollywood celebrities who played fighter pilots, played infantry sergeants, played tank commanders or ship captains, and they'd never set foot in a uniform for real, and nobody'd ever shot at them, but they were in the propaganda corps, and they had this imagery of great warriors. So the reality is there are a whole lot of people that are walking around that have done this, but nobody pays attention to them. They just pick these celebrities that have never been there. But there are a few celebrities that have. Okay, Isaiah Washington, he was in the Marine Corps. You had Clint Eastwood, he was in the Marines. You had the late Lee Marvin, he got shot twice at Iwo Jima. You had a very prolific actor in Western movies. What is his name? He wrote a book, To Hell and Back. The name, I'm ashamed of myself for forgetting his name. He was the most decorated soldier in American history.
Let me see if I can look it up. Hold on. He said he wrote a book called Hell and Back?
To Hell and Back. Audie Murphy, he played in 41 Western movies. He wasn't but 5'6", but this guy was a real live badass. He got Congressional Medal of Honor, the Quality Gear, Victoria Cross, everything you can think of. He got every medal as possible for an American soldier to get. Brave man. But he was in the movie. Somebody like that just playing themselves, that's one thing. But we have so many people right now who have never done anything particularly heroic that's real, and we hold them up as leadership. So, you know, the answer to what about all of these celebrities that attack Kirk, who gives a damn? Take their punk behind somewhere else and go man the devil up and do something for real and start by standing up to this Hollywood bit, which gets into what we had with a recent firing and rehiring episode, Kimmel. I don't have anything against the guy. For 5 years, he had a survey, and I came out in his survey as the most trusted man in America. Barack Obama was down number 52 the last time I was involved in one he did, and I came out number one. So I don't have problems with him. His wife was a big fan of mine. But what happened with him was not so much quashing free speech, it was free market. See, when you have these broadcast studios, they depend upon commercial advertisement. When you see an hour-long play, if you took out a stopwatch, you would find that the industry standard is 32 minutes of commercial advertisement and 28 minutes of content. So what happens when the commercial advertisers who spend a lot of money through advertising dollars and sponsorships to have people convinced that their product should be bought, and somebody comes out and does something that defeats that expensive effort, they say, we're pulling our ads. So the studio says, okay, Kimmel, we're pulling your show because our sponsors didn't want to sponsor you anymore. So when those sponsors left, well, the man had fans within the industry, and they sought other commercial sponsors who said, well, we have somebody that's with us who likes, the other side too, so we'll support Jimmy and we will re-sponsor it. So they hire him, and what they usually do is they cut back his compensation and nobody talks about it. And on the side, they can say, see, we stood up to President Trump, who's a fascist, who's trying to repress free speech. No, that had nothing to do with free speech. That was just market pressure. But you take advantage of these opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you got here. An opportunity presented itself, and propaganda masters say we can seize on it. We can do our things to keep the favor of our commercial advertisers. We can chastise Kimmel and pop him on the back of the hand, and everything will be all right, and we can look like we stood up to the evil Donald Trump. We can do our part to countering MAGA. So that's what you're really looking at, that kind of thing.
Thank you, sir, for sharing this. Obviously, because if you understand Hollywood, the entertainment industry, by now, you would understand that for them it is marketing, for business first. So when I even with other thing, I'm like, and then with Jimmo, exactly, with him being fired and being brought back and all that stuff, it was just, it's business. Hollywood, Hollywood, the entertainment industry, by now, people should understand and know that they care more about the business or their marketing first overall. But again, we already know celebrities don't even live in the real world. So that's just the truth. They don't live in their world is fantasized, glamorized. So lots of people just look at them and be like, oh, okay. They look up to them, exactly, when there are real people in the society that they are doing the work, they've done the work. But again, this goes far about across. Like for people who just be like, "Oh, Charlie Kirk, he deserve whatever," that craziness that people just want to talk that Charlie Kirk deserve it. Listen, you are part of the problem, because if you don't like the person, then don't watch the person's video or stay far away, stay away, rather than naming name or saying, "Oh, he deserved that," because nobody deserve to be unalive for their opinion. Because if you think free speech is applicable to you, and I'm saying this with a big free speech, and obviously I'm going to keep saying it again, if you think free speech is applicable to you, why do you think it's not applicable to somebody you don't like? Oh, it's only applicable to you until it gets to somebody you don't agree with. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Then they say, oh, because I don't agree with him, he is a Nazi. Yeah, I think the national time I said Marxist. He's a Nazi. He's a misogynist. He's a racist. He's a whatever ist. Then they add phobia to it because you don't agree with him. Hello, we are allowed to agree to disagree. And I don't think during the course of watching or Charlie Kirk's interaction with people, there was ever a time that he insulted somebody based on their belief or whatever. He only wanted to understand why you think like this, why you think this way, and also potentially learn. But still, his mission was for you to think freely for yourself. Don't just run based off what you heard from somebody. But again, when I hear people say, oh, Charlie Kirk is racist, he's a Nazi, he's a misogynist, he's a this, I just said to myself, like, you don't what you haven't seen any of Charlie Kirk's video. I don't even blame you because you just took things out of context based off a second clip or whatever amount of clip you saw, and somebody kind of painted things based on their narrative, and then you ran off with it. Because if you did watch Charlie Kirk's videos, Charlie Kirk is one of the most polite person that I've ever seen that interacts with people he disagree with without and gives everybody a chance, a fair chance. He gives everybody a fair chance, a fair room. Air your opinion. He's not a monster. He never presented himself as a monster. And it's, yeah, exactly. He was raised in matter. You guys made him a matter. God bless your soul, Charlie Kirk. And thank you, Judge Joe Brown, for sharing this. Obviously, lots of people will not listen to this because this is the truth. And we need to bring back reality. Like we really need to come back to reality in this world or in this society, because lots of people are so far from reality. And we're talking about a lot. But let me know what you think. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.